What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last Thursday, I checked out Tenet in IMAX. Couldn't wait to watch this film. I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan, and Christopher Nolan, along with Quentin Tarantino, are at a tie as my favorite two directors of all time. And I mentioned Quentin Tarantino because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is Tarantino's last film, is Tarantino's love letter to Hollywood. Tenet is, upon watching this film, is Christopher Nolan's love letter to his 20-year career as a Hollywood director. And I'll explain why, okay, in this whole review, okay? First of all, I'll start by saying that we knew nothing about this film, like at all. All he gave us was this word, Tenet, just like they do in the trailer. He says, all I have for you is a word, Tenet. And the concept of inversion, that's the only thing we knew. We know that things were going to be in reverse, and then the title's called Tenet. And well, watching the trailers really, it didn't like blow my mind. The trailers just made me completely confused as to how they could pull that off. Things going forward and backwards at the same time. So many theories were going in my head about how this could be possibly possible. How could they make this possible? And it got to the point where I'm like, okay, this is just completely beyond my comprehension, so I'm just going to wait to watch the movie, and hopefully it'll be explained to me. I kept on coming out with theories until my brain hurt, and then I just gave up, and I said, you know what, I'll just watch the movie and then let them explain it to me, okay? Let's just jump right into this review, okay? I had high expectations for this film, as I always do for Christopher Nolan films. I think a lot of people feel the exact same way. They expect their mind to be blown because he's given us such amazing films, and I think a lot of them are very, very amazing. They're all extraordinary films. Every single one of Christopher Nolan's films are extraordinary. Now, I don't love them all, but I still acknowledge that they are extraordinary films and quite unique, and I understand why people love them, okay? So I love a lot of his films, just not all of them. Anyways, so just like Inception, Interstellar, and the Dark Knight trilogy, I expected to have my mind blown, okay? I came out of the theater with my mind completely obliterated. And it's all because as I was watching this film, I was just asking myself, okay, should I keep on waiting to figure this out, to figure out what is going on? And should I just wait for the explanation to be made? Or should I try to figure it out for myself? Or should I just give up and stop thinking about it and just watch the movie as it goes along to save myself from agony, because my mind was hurting so much as to trying to figure out and understand or comprehend how it all works. I was so confused, okay? Like, don't get me wrong, I love thought-provoking films. Like, I love intelligent films. I love films that really make you think. Smart films, right? This is something that was on another level, okay? I personally do not believe that anybody who was watching this film understood this film 100%. I don't think you're meant to understand this film 100%. I think you're meant to understand it after you watch it and then read about it and then watch it again and then watch it again. And then it gets better with every viewing. And then it gets to a point where you know that you're meant to understand this film after you've watched it a couple of times. I think that people only understood, at most, 40% of this film, because it is so complex. Like, this movie just has so many things about it. It's so confusing. Like, I came out of theater really confused. But, this is a very visually impressive film, okay? There's a lot of visuals that get you so excited, and it makes the movie a lot of fun to watch because of what he's able to do with this amazing concept of inversion, which has things going forward and backwards at the same time. There's so many physical things you can do, especially stunts. Like, that's what got me really excited. And at some point in time, I just decided to give up on thinking about, why is this happening? How are they doing this? How is any of this possible? And I was just watching it happen. So that's what kept me going, all right? And also, also the idea of where is this movie going? Like, where's the story going? Are they just gonna explain everything? That's what kept me going. Okay, so yeah, it was a pretty crazy. But I actually feel like this film is kind of a little bit complex for its own good, because like there's a lot of elements in this film that is borrowed from so many of his other films, and that's the concept of the main concept of time. You know, in Dunkirk, he played around with time for the narrative structure of the film. For Interstellar, he played with time displacement. You know, when traveling to outer space, and how time is moves differently because of gravity. In Inception, you know, time is different in the different dream worlds. You know, all his films have some sort of way to play with time. It's always a theme. It's a running theme in all his films. Now he does something that's just totally out there on another level, and is making time go reverse and forward simultaneously. And that is just very, very crazy to wrap your head around, because it's just hard to understand how that really works. Even if they explained it to us, like in the film, which they do, it's still hard to comprehend that. And even when we do understand it, some things still feel like they don't work. At least that's what I believe, because some things are going forward and backwards, and why isn't everything going one way? And it's kind of crazy. Okay, so my brain was just cracking. Like I said, I gave up trying to understand this film. I was, as soon as the film opens, we were treated to a really spectacular sequence. I really love that opening sequence, right? But it's like, I don't know what's going on. And I've seen a lot of movies like that, especially spy films, where you don't really know what's going on, and you're meant to not know what's going on because it will be explained later, and it'll all make sense, right? I'm still waiting for that explanation. So, I'm waiting for that explanation, and as I was watching the film, like, there are more questions that are popping up in my head. Like, they were popping up faster than I can find answers for them. I just couldn't keep up with them, and that's why I decided to let's just watch this film at face value and just see what comes out of it. Because I just gave up, because this film is the equivalent of a labyrinth. It's like a maze. You can't figure it out. Okay, it takes a lot of work to figure it out. So that is why, I just had a hard time with this film. Now, I'm an avid fan of his films. Like, I follow his films. Like, I love his films. I'm a fan of his work, and I got used to his non-linear style of storytelling. I wasn't a big fan of it originally, but I got used to it as I watched his films more and more, and that's when I realized that this non-linear way of storytelling for his films does work. Okay, it really does work. Now, that was when he actually had his longtime collaborative editor, Lee Smith. Okay, that was his editor for his previous films, for a lot of his films. He's got a brand new editor that he's working with for the first time, and that's Jennifer Lane. And I feel like the editing is really choppy in this film. I think it's definitely a flaw in this film, because this film is 2.5 hours long, and I think it very well could have been 3 hours long, mostly because I feel like a huge chunk, like a handful of chunks in certain parts of this film were cut out. For example, and I'm not giving anything away, one moment they're in one country, another moment immediately after they're in another country, and you know it's another country because the setting looks different, okay? Or they mention it, but they're just suddenly there. There's no like, okay, I'm gonna get on a plane. There's no even mention of that, where if they at least mentioned it, they would at least, that would be enough for the audience. They're just here suddenly, And then there are scenes where they're just, it jumps back and forth, which is fine, because I get that maybe it's a jump in time or another point in time, but it does that a lot. And it's all because of, I guess he needs it to remind the audience of things that happen that relate to what's happening currently. But I feel it doesn't work in this film because we're already confused, and when they do stuff like that, it just makes it even harder to follow. Now, and I really do believe that this has to do with the effort that Jennifer Lane put in editing the film, because I read that Christopher Nolan did tell his editor that this is going to be one of the most difficult films you're going to edit, and this is the effort that she put in. So that was that. It just doesn't flow smoothly. This film just doesn't flow because of the editing, okay? Another thing that's hard to follow, the dialogue. I'm not the I'm not the only one. I read a lot of reviews where they said that this film needs subtitles. And everybody speaks English in this film. Like, some might have accents, like different European accents, but at the end of the day, they're still speaking English. But something about the audio mix, like, they gotta fire the sound mixer, because I cannot understand what is being said, like, probably 60% of the time. I couldn't understand 60% of the dialogue. You remember how Bane was speaking with a mask on? Tom Hardy was speaking as Bane with a mask on. And you remember how Tom Hardy was speaking as a pilot in Dunkirk? You couldn't hear what he was saying. And then they did something to fix that up. Maybe make it louder or make it more clear. But even that was a little bit difficult. We have a huge problem here. Like, the dialogue is incomprehensible. It's inaudible. And I'm not the only one. There's the background sound is too loud, or they're just mumbling, and I don't know what is going on. Even someone with a voice as prominent as John David Washington, you can't even understand what he's saying sometimes. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. This is definitely a technical issue, and maybe it was because they were rushing to get this film out. But man, they really got to do something about that, because that did not work. Okay. I do want to mention that I love Christopher Nolan's work, but this film feels like it is obviously his most ambitious film, but it's almost too ambitious. Like, it is way out there. Like, I totally grasp the concept of, Interstellar and Inception, but this is really something else. Like, it's trying to do something that I feel like Christopher Nolan was trying to wrap a story around the concept of inversion. I think that he wanted to do something different with time that he's never done before. So in this case, having time go forwards and backwards. And he had that idea first before he had a story. I don't think he had a story. Like, I feel like just by watching this movie, there was no story. There was a concept of, let's see what we can do. Let's make some action sequences where they go backwards and forwards, and let's just wrap a story behind that. And it feels like that was really how they decided to do it. Now, I do want to acknowledge one thing, though. Kip Thorne, who was one of the producers and also the consultant for Interstellar, who's also like this astrophysicist, like the smartest man on the planet, he actually applied real science to how this inversion concept could work in real life. So there is a real science there, but it really is, like the algorithms in Interstellar, they're really quite hard to understand for the average person. So it is it is something that is quite it's something that's on another level. Okay, so we're not automatically meant to understand it as the average person. Okay. No, now let's talk about some good things. Okay, I'm looking over here because I made some notes about it. Okay, this is a Christopher Nolan film. Make no mistake about it, it's a Christopher Nolan film, so we're going to be treated to really mind-blowing, spectacular action sequences. Make no mistake about it, we get them, okay? Inversion action sequences are very fun to watch. They're very cool, and they're very creative. There's so much they can do with it, because obviously you've seen in the trailer, there's a reverse fist fight or inverted car chase. All that stuff is really, really cool. Like, I want to go back to watch this movie maybe 1 or 2 more times just to watch those scenes again, and obviously to try to understand this film, right? Maybe I'll get a better enjoyment out of it. I'm pretty sure I'll get better enjoyment, but I do look forward to those scenes. Those fist fights, I mean, a reverse or inverted fist fight is very, very cool. And, to know what the actors and the stunt actors did to choreograph that's a lot of work, right? So, very, very cool. Another thing that I really like about it is that he adds romance to this film. Not a full-on love story, but I love the fact that, you add on this, subtle love story, and this is still a spy thriller, so it feels like a James Bond film. And, I read that Christopher Nolan always wanted to direct a James Bond film. He loves James Bond films, and I thought that Inception was his James Bond film, but this one more is like a James Bond film, especially because, well, it's a spy thriller, and also there's a romance aspect of the film. So I like that. It's really, really cool. It's different, okay? I love the cinematography. He's working with his frequent collaborator, Hoyt van Hoytema, and this is a very beautifully shot film. Once again, in IMAX, 35mm, 70mm, really big format on a beautiful, huge canvas. The action sequences and everything just looks so sharp and awesome. Okay. Another thing that I love is the stunt work, okay? Physical stunt work, okay? I'm talking about that reverse fist fight. I already mentioned, very cool to watch. I like John David Washington. I've only seen him in Black Klansman. I think he was better in that because that one's, it's not an action film, it's a drama, and there's definitely more acting chops involved in there. But I was really impressed with John David Washington's stunt work. He's very charming in this movie. Don't get me wrong, he's good in this movie. But who steals the show? I've never seen a Robert Pattinson film ever before Tenet. I freaking love Robert Pattinson in this film. Like, he's so good. I look forward to him being the Batman. It's kind of like how I really love Joseph Gordon-Levitt in Inception. Okay, like, he was just cool in that role. Robert Pattinson is very cool in this role. So he was my favorite characters out of them all. I gotta commend Christopher Nolan on doing everything real. This is an expensive film, $250 million production budget. He did everything real. No green screen work, all physical work. Obviously physical stunt work, physical vehicular destruction, crashing a real plane, just doing a lot of stuff for real. So it looks good on camera, and it's just very convincing for the audience. So that was really awesome. Tenet is 2.5 hours long. There's never a dull moment. It's definitely his most ambitious film, but I won't say that it's one of his best films. In fact, I don't think it's one of his better films. In his 10-film career, there's definitely a lot of great films. I don't think this one is one of them, but it's still an extraordinary film. Does that make sense? I think all his films are extraordinary in their own way. This is definitely something that is absolutely extraordinary. You definitely have to watch this out. Check this out on the big screen in IMAX if possible. But prepare your mind because it's very confusing. I'm definitely watching this another time and probably another time. But I came out of the theater not having the same emotional impact that I had with Interstellar, Inception, and the Dark Knight trilogy. Instead, I had a WTF, what the hell did I just watch feeling, okay? And this will be one of the most talked about films of 2020, and everybody will be saying that same phrase. What the hell did I just watch? That was confusing as hell. I really believe that. But it's one of those films. Just like Inception, I didn't get it the first time, but when I watched it again and again, I actually enjoyed it more, and I'm hoping I'll have that same feeling when I do check it out for the second and third time. So watch it in theaters or wait for digital. Definitely watch it in theaters. This is a big movie with big sequences and definitely deserves a really big screen. So do watch that. 7.5 out of 10. I know it's not a super high score for a Christopher Nolan film, but still, I stand by that score. Maybe I'll bump it up to 8 after a second or third viewing, but in any case, yeah, I felt that there were some issues with this film. I will also say that the third act was a little bit underwhelming, okay? The third act, the final climactic finale, was a little bit underwhelming for certain reasons that I won't spoil, okay? But there you have it, 7.5 out of 10, okay? Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Do go check it out, okay? Don't let what I say sway you from not watching it. Do check it out. This is a Christopher Nolan film. There are extraordinary things that happen on the screen. There's some great performances. Ludwig Göransson, awesome score. This is his first time collaborating with him. He worked on Black Panther. He usually works with Hans Zimmer. This is a great score. I'm not saying it's better than Hans Zimmer. I'm just saying that it's different, it's unique, and it really works well with this film. So that's another plus for this film. Watch it. The music goes really good with the sequences. It just keeps you pumped up, and it just keeps this long movie flowing. It just goes really well. It's always flowing at a really great pace, okay? Because you can't have sight without the sound. Anyway, 7.5 out of 10. As always, if you enjoyed this review, want to see more, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me, Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.